Hello everyone, Alistair Gold of Football.London here from the Etihad Stadium. I promise you I am at the Etihad Stadium. It's just if I turn the camera that way, the floodlights are so bright that you can't actually see anything on the screen, which might be a good thing. But at least you can hear me talk about another crazy dramatic match at this stadium involving Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester City. As Pochettino just said in his press conference, there seems to be something about this stadium, VAR, Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester City. It just doesn't seem to happen to other clubs here. Obviously we had that dramatic night in the Champions League, what was it, a few months ago, April. That crazy disallowed goal from Raheem Sterling in the last few seconds. And it happened again. This time Gabriel Jesus thought he'd scored, did a little celebration that he'd cooked up and everything, and it wasn't to be. Somehow Tottenham Hotspur came away from the stadium being battered and bruised. I think it was 30 shots they conceded, just took two themselves, but those two shots they took, they were two goals. Incredible really. The way City absolutely were rampant, came at Spurs with every attacking intent possible. It kind of seemed as if there was only going to be one conclusion to this match. Somehow we're talking about a 2-2 draw though. It's mad. Various positives, various negatives over the pitch. I think he'll get some flack, but for me, Kyle Walker-Peters, I felt did quite well. I wouldn't say it was magnificent, but I did feel that he had an incredible test on his hands. Raheem Sterling flying him, De Bruyne sometimes over on his side of the pitch, and De Bruyne, don't get me wrong, was absolutely levels above pretty much everyone on the pitch for most of the game. Just an absolutely phenomenal player. But I thought Walker-Peters did well on the whole. We had a couple of moments. He gave the ball away to Sterling at one point in the second half near his area, which was a really dodgy moment. But on the whole, I thought he coped quite well for a young player kind of thrown into a scenario like this. But as Pochettino said after the game, he said it's different when you're a backup player and you're kind of given opportunities. It's an incredibly exciting moment. You're 200% focused, in his words, and you're incredibly motivated. He said it's a very different thing if you kind of have ambitions to be the first choice and you're going to be playing every week, and these are the kind of matches you're going to be playing in all the time. He said, and that's the next step for Kyle Walker-Peters. He's got to be able to deal with that expectation. But he felt he did well. He said there are a few things he's got to improve on, but he felt he did well. Probably, maybe Juan Foyth did better in the league game here a couple of days after that Champions League quarter-final, second leg. But I thought Walker-Peters, it did probably better than a lot of people feared. I think there was a bit of fear about how he was going to deal with these players, and I think he did okay. City doubled up on him a lot. Mauricio, I didn't feel actually covered him enough as he normally does in the first half. I thought second half he was slightly better. I thought Danny Rose got some of the same treatment on the left-hand side as well. I thought he actually had some issues as well, especially with De Bruyne. But again, we've got to really add in the massive caveat that Sterling and De Bruyne are two of the best players right now in Europe. They're just, what they create, I mean, De Bruyne's balls for both the first and second City goals were phenomenal. First one to Sterling at the back post was just an absolute masterclass in how to swing in a ball to the back post. Absolutely brilliant. And City are an incredibly attacking team. You know, Pochettino said afterwards, you cannot compare these two teams. City are the champions for the last 2 years. They keep improving every season. They've gone out and they bring in a winner like Cancelo, obviously, who's won things with Juventus. They're only adding to that winning mentality, whereas Tottenham are in a very different stage in their project. He spoke afterwards, Pochettino, about how he keeps going on about this unsettled squad and the circumstance. He says we're still not settled yet. Until those transfer windows close in Europe on September the 2nd, he said we're just not going to be a team that is fully settled and focused on what's ahead. But then he did say he's, incredibly positive about what's to come. They have just turned the lights off here at the Etihad, so thankfully I think you can still see me, but apologies if the picture quality has gone a little bit ropey. But that's the work I'm putting on, even here when they're turning off the stadium lights. But yeah, Pochettino feels he's positive about the future. He still thinks there's a lot to come from this young Tottenham team. I thought Ndombele showed little glimpses of what he can do. I thought he had a good game. I felt there were moments when he didn't look fit enough still. He wasn't covering enough. He wasn't getting back enough. And I actually felt for what would have been the winning goal for City, but obviously was ruled out by VAR for a handball by Laporte. I don't think he got close enough to Jesus in the in that kind of thing. I think he'd almost given up and felt that the player was going to score. And I think there were a couple of moments, one where he was chasing De Bruyne back, where I just want to see that little bit more of an all-round box-to-box game. But he's got it in him. I think he's going to be a cracking player for Tottenham Hotspur as the months go on. It's just about him adjusting and settling into Pochettino's demands. But this was a big point for Tottenham Hotspur. You know, they absolutely had to hang on by their fingernails, and on any other day they might have even lost 4 or 5-0. I thought Hugo Lloris put off some great saves. I thought his distribution wasn't too great with his feet, but with his hands he very much kept Tottenham in the game. But these are the kind of matches where Tottenham have to go away and they have to get a point. You know, I think it's only 2 wins away from home in 2018, and they were both against 2 teams that are now relegated. So to come here to a team like Man City, who are rampant once again this season, look like possibly going to go and win the title again. I'd be surprised if they don't. But Spurs have come here and they've got the job done. So that's 4 points in the first 2 games. And Pochettino seems happy enough. We saw a little glimpse of Giovanni Lo Celso, just came on for the final minutes. And I thought it was quite interesting that Oliver Skipp came on as well. Kind of reminds me of how Pochettino used to deal with Harry Winks in his kind of breakthrough season, when he was bringing him in just for minutes. But they weren't minutes at the ends of games that were absolutely won like by a landslide. He was bringing him on in tight scenarios against big clubs. I remember in Liverpool, I think it was 0-0. Harry Winks came on, and this was when he was very young. And he seems to be doing the same with Skipp. Skipp came on for the last few minutes in this game, but it's obviously tightly poised. He had a great block against Raheem Sterling, which stopped what would have been probably a certain goal. And that shows the trust. You know, Wanyama wasn't even on that bench. Tells me possibly we're going to be seeing him maybe moving on in the coming weeks. It's just his fitness, his knee issues. It just doesn't seem to be a role for him in a very crowded midfield now. Victor Wanyama. So Oliver Skipp, you know, just 18 years old, looks like he's got the trust of Pochettino, which is a really, really big thing for the young man. But no, this was a positive. This was an incredibly tough game, and incredibly early in the season when Pochettino hasn't got his stamp on his team yet for the season ahead. He's admitted that himself. So to come here and get a 2-2 draw against Guardiola's men, score 2 goals against a team that don't concede a lot of goals is pretty impressive. Up next, obviously, Newcastle at home. Spurs are back at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Look, you'd hope they go there and bring home the 3 points again, or keep the 3 points at home, as it were. And this good start will continue. And then if that's the case, and then obviously the North London derby coming up quite early again. I'd say Arsenal still very much in transition with their new players. They watched them earlier against Burnley, and they don't look like a team that's set yet either. So that will be quite a big one for both teams. Could be a cracker. It really could, you know. At the Emirates, I think Spurs will want to go there and get 3 points. I think it's a place they just haven't got enough points at over the years. And I think if they want to stamp their authority back on London and being a top club in London again, that's the kind of games they're going to have to go away and win, and however early it is in the season. But this was a good night for Tottenham Hotspur. Pep Guardiola, he gave a lot of credit to Spurs. He said the fact that City did what they did with so many chances against a team he called the second best in Europe, and one of Europe's most creative sides, he felt that told a lot about Man City, so he wasn't upset about the final thing. Did have a funny little dig at VAR because there was an incident with Lamella. I think he was all over Rodrigo at one point in the first half, which there were penalty claims. Guardiola said VAR must have been having coffee at that point. I kind of tend to agree with him. It really did look like a penalty, but it didn't even get referred to VAR apparently. But Spurs came away with a point, massive point, and they go again a whole week to prepare. Newcastle next weekend, and they're in a good place at the moment. I'd be surprised if Spurs lost anyone that Pochettino really didn't want to lose. I think the key one will be Eriksen, obviously. If they can keep hold of Eriksen, I think Pochettino will be a happy man. I think there'll be some of the others he won't be too fussed about losing, but Eriksen would be the key. But that's for another day. That's September the 2nd. We'll see how that all goes. But this was a good night for Tottenham against probably, arguably the best team in Europe right now. Despite, I know Liverpool won the Champions League, but I still feel City, with all their riches, their team, the talent they've got, are one of the best teams, if not the best team out there. So yeah, a good hard-earned point, and Spurs, they're going to feel it in their legs, the Tottenham players tonight. They certainly are, but it will be worth it. That's Alistair Gold from the Etihad Stadium. Hello everyone, sorry, a little really quick addition to the video because I just realised maybe amid all the excitement of the lights going off inside the Etihad Stadium while I was trying to film it, I didn't actually talk about the Tottenham Hotspur goals, and both of them were quite crucial for the players involved in different ways. Eric Lamella got a lot of flack when the team selection was announced. You know, why is he in there ahead of Lucas Moura? He did his job. He finished the day with a goal and an assist. His goal, City just kind of kept backing off, and then he just curled a lovely shot into the bottom left corner past Ederson. With Lucas Moura, many would have said he should have started. I don't think he was that great against Villa. I can kind of understand why he wasn't starting, although obviously you do lose the pace when you take him out of the team. But in his case, Pochettino made a massive point. They were trying to bring him on as a sub, and the fourth official was saying, "Oh, do you want to do it now because there's a corner?" Pochettino shouted at Tony Jimenez, the goalkeeping coach, to tell him, no, we want him on now. He needs to be on for this corner. And as it was, it proved to be a masterstroke because the little Brazilian, he can only be about 5'7", something like that. He has such an incredible leap on him. Leapt, ironically, above Kyle Walker-Peters and planted that header past Ederson into the goal for what ended up being the leveller. People will debate whether he should have started, shouldn't have. Personally, I just feel City was so strong on the day. I don't entirely know whether Tottenham at this stage of the season, whatever team they put out, would have really made too much of a difference in an attacking sense. But they came, they got the point, they've gone. They haven't quite conquered, but they got a point at the Etihad, which was big for Tottenham. So this is Alistair Gold actually signing off now from the Etihad Stadium in Manchester, and we'll catch you next week from Pochettino's press conference ahead of the Newcastle game.